Not sure what to make for New Year's Eve? Have I got a great idea for you. Gorgeous, gluten-free Blinis pancakes that you can make in advance if you store them in a refrigerator with a little bit of plastic on top on your baking sheet, or pop them in the freezer for a few minutes until they're nice and firm, and then pop them in a zipper bag, and you can grab them for up to 2 months. It's an efficient use of time, they're not that expensive, and boy, do they pack a lot of wow factor. My name is Chef Apra. I'm the executive chef and owner of my own catering company, and I'm here to show you some fun tips and tricks and hacks on how to make some fancy looking appetizers for New Year's. We're gonna make a very beautiful Russian blini pancake, and we're gonna top it with homemade creme fraiche and some chives and some caviar. We really wanna have a big wow factor. First things first, we're gonna mix our dry ingredients. I have a nice bowl here with a sifter. That is to make sure that we don't have lumps in our batter. For this gluten-free recipe, we're gonna use 2/3 cup of buckwheat flour. Buckwheat is a naturally gluten-free flour that has a great nutty flavor. I love using it. I'm gonna use this lovely sifter. Make sure that there's no lumps. Nobody wants lumpy batter. In addition to the buckwheat flour, we're gonna use an all-purpose gluten-free flour. You can use rice flour if you want. Your kitchen, your rules. There we go. We're gonna add that in with a tablespoon of baking powder. We're gonna add a pinch of kosher salt. Boom, extra pinch, because why not? We wanna get a little salty. And my fun cracked black pepper. I love using a pepper mill for fresh cracked pepper. The one thing though is that it might not go through the holes of your sift. See all those lumps we mixed out? Boom. So then I'm gonna add him in after, because I don't want the lumps, or rather I don't want the sifter to not allow this gorgeous fresh cracked pepper in. Oh, that smells so good. I'm using a mixture of black and red peppercorn, so it's gonna have this wonderful, bright, nutty flavor along with the buckwheat. And then I'm using another hack. A wonderful kitchen tool that you use is a whisk. This is called a balloon whisk. We're gonna use it later, so I like to use the same kind of equipment again and again, so I don't have to make too many trips to the dishwasher and washing things. So dry ingredients first. Our wet ingredients are going to be 2 eggs. And we are going to use just the whites in this. And here's a little tip on how to get your egg whites. You gotta get your hands dirty, people. Get them in there, boom. And make sure that you don't get any eggs in there. And if you do, which I just did, here's a little tip and trick that my nono taught me, is you use a piece of the shell and you use it just to scoop him out. There he goes, comes right out. And then I'll just put my little finger on him and make sure, oh, there he came again. He's an escape artist. You definitely do not want eggshells in your food. We're gonna use our balloon whisk again, and we're going to just beat these egg yolks. You can see it's starting to get frothy and the bubbles are coming up. You wanna make just soft peaks. So you don't have to do this too long, just enough, kind of aerate it, bring some air into it. There we go, and you can see it's already starting to get just some soft peaks. Should take just a few moments of time. There we go. Now we're on to incorporating some more wet ingredients. I love using buttermilk. It's got this nice tang to it. You have to buy this giant container and you usually only need a splash. For this recipe, you're gonna use an entire cup. So it's a good way to take advantage of using that buttermilk. If you want to use a plant-based milk to make this vegan, you are more than welcome to. Same thing with the eggs, you can use an egg substitute. Okie dokie, I'm gonna use a spatula and I'm gonna just slowly incorporate my wet into the dry. There we go. Look at how pretty that looks. I wanna make sure I get all of that delicious buttermilk. Buttermilk is all the fat solids that are left behind in the milk in the processing. So it's got a lot more fat content, a lot more flavor. And you don't have to use buttermilk. You can also use just plain whole milk. You can use a plant-based milk if you prefer, or you can just use water if you really don't want to use the milk. Now we're gonna gently fold in those beautiful eggs, because we don't want to lose all that nice lightness that we brought in. You can still see all that nice froth from it. Let's get every little bit out of here. And we're just gonna gently fold. Folding is when you take from the side and you pull into the middle and you're incorporating. And because we sifted, you can see that there are no lumps in this beautiful batter. That nice frothy bit of egg. Just wanna make sure that's all together to make this beautiful batter. Look at that. You can see the little air bubbles in it, nice and light. We got it over about a medium-high heat, and I want to make sure that my pan is gonna be nice and hot. Here's a test to make sure your pan is hot enough. Yeah, you can see the bubbles sizzling and evaporating and dancing, so you know it's hot enough. I have some lovely olive oil here. I like to use a good quality, no matter what I'm using it for. If you don't have olive oil though, you can use a canola oil, vegetable oil. You can use ghee, which is clarified butter. Ooh, that's good. Okay, it's sizzling. We're gonna take this wonderful little tool, which is a little 2-ounce scoop, and we're just gonna plop some right in the middle of your pan. And we're going to do about 5, I think, for this size of a skillet. You want to not crowd your pan as with any kind of cooking, because that way things have enough air around it and space also for when you need to flip them. And you can see that beautiful buckwheat color. Gorgeous. So you're going to use your sense of smell to smell when they're ready, and your sense of sight when you see the bubbles, just like a traditional pancake. These are almost ready, and we're going to flip them. I like to try and fill a pan in a clockwise order, so that way I can keep track of roughly when they need to get flipped. I'm using these nifty tools. They're an offset spatula. I'm using one as a guide and one to help flip. Okay, here we go. Flipping it over. Oh, look how pretty. Let's do this one next. Beautiful. You don't need a lot of oil on this, so it's healthy. Not only is it gluten-free, can be vegan if you omit the eggs and the buttermilk and substitute for plant-based, but it also has this great vehicle of a neutral flavor that you can add all of your toppings on to really jazz it up for your holiday party. I have a sheet pan here with a baking rack on it. That way I have some air. So as I pop it out, they'll have a chance to cool evenly. You'll know they're done when they can move on their own. Look how beautiful. That is a pretty blini. Now's the fun part where we're gonna compile our beautiful Russian caviar blini. But I also have some other fun toppings. I went into the deli section of one of my local markets and I found this lovely product. It's smoked steelhead, which goes great with caviar. You can spend $500 on a container of this, of say a Russian caviar. This is actually trout caviar. Conversely, you can use salmon roe, which is also delicious. You can find that oftentimes in an Asian market. A little goes a long way. When you're using caviar, make sure you use a non-reactive metal spoon such as this. Do not use that. You can use alabaster, you can use wood. In this case, I'm going to use these adorable little ceramic. You don't want to use anything with metal with caviar. I made my own homemade creme fraiche. It is so easy. I'm going to show you how to do it in another show. Nothing can beat the flavor and texture of beautiful homemade creme fraiche. Look at that. Creamy, gorgeous, and the taste is great. You know what's in it. I've also toasted some beautiful walnut halves in a skillet just to give them a little brown color. When you toast your nuts and seeds ahead of time, it's just going to enhance the flavor. To top these off, we're going to use chives. If you have chives, great. If you have green onion, also called scallions, you can use those. One of my favorite equipment pieces is a pair of kitchen shears. Nice and sharp, strictly for use with food. I'm going to use these to snip my chives, and I use them to open up product that has food in it. So that way you're not having cross-contamination. We do not want that. Speaking of which, we want to make sure that you have anything that is of a food product in a separate container, not on your cutting board. This fish has been smoked, so it is okay to eat and cross-contaminate on something because it doesn't have any cooties. We only need a few pieces, so you can save the rest for breakfast. I'm going to cut some small pieces of the smoked salmon to fit approximately the size of my blini, which I have right here on a rack. Since I have also my food-grade scissors, I could use those instead and just give a little cut and a snap. And you can see a little goes a long way. This was not a very expensive item. but it has a lot of wow factor. Let's grab a couple of our blinis, and we're gonna do a few different options. You can pick your prettiest ones. For your party, you could just set them out with the caviar and the creme fraiche, just like this, and people can build their own. That's a lot easier and quite a time saver. But if you have the time, or if you wanna invite a friend to come help you, let me show you how to put them together. We're gonna put a dollop of our homemade creme fraiche. We're gonna put one of these beautiful toasted walnuts, and I might just stick a little chive in it to make it special. And then on the others, I'm going to put some of this beautiful trout roe or trout caviar. Put them over here. Look at that, yum. It's got this sweet, colorful, bright tanginess. It's got the bite of the sea. That salinity is so gorgeous. Some smoked salmon pieces on this other one. So be generous, it's a holiday. Let them enjoy. For my sweet option, I'm gonna add a little bit of orange zest just to brighten it up and add a little bit of color and interest. This is called a zester, and it makes these beautiful long tendrils of bright, beautiful freshness. And a little goes a long way. Maybe I'll throw some on top of that guy too. Your kitchen, your rules, have fun with it. And then for my chives, I'm just gonna grab a little handful and I'm gonna cut them on an angle. And I'm just gonna pinch a few from my scissor on top of those. Look how cute. And then maybe these end pieces I'll also add to this one. So you can get creative. You can have your friends, if you trust your kids, they can help you put these together too. Beautiful Russian blini. Happy New Year. Enjoy.